Hello everyone, welcome back to this video, and today we are going to continue on the chapters 8 part 4, which we're going to discuss on the breathing mechanisms of humans. So the outline of today's video, we're going to talk about the process of inhalation. When we talk about the breathing, we actually means the process of inhalation and also the process of exhalation. And next, we're going to compare and contrast the breathing mechanisms between animals and also humans. All right, this is an overall overview for the process of inhalation and also the process of exhalation. So what happens during inhalation? So there are five important points that you have to remember. So at first, the external intercostal muscle going to contract while the internal intercostal muscle going to relax. Okay. So what is the intercostal muscle? It's here. It's between the rib cage. This is the external intercostal muscle, which is the outer layer of the intercostal muscle. So this external intercostal muscle is going to contract during inhalation. And this action going to cause the rib cage to move upwards and also outwards. Okay, you can see the arrow. The rib cage is going to become outwards and also upwards. And at the same time, the diaphragm is this piece of muscles here, and the diaphragm is going to contract, and the diaphragm going to contract and move downwards to become flat and horizontal. So you see, this diaphragm during inhalation is actually quite flat if you compare to the exhalation, which is it rises up. Okay, so during inhalation, when the external intercostal muscle contracts, it move up, and then the diaphragm move down. So this is going to cause the volume of the thorax cavity or the thoracic cavity to increase. And when the volume increase, the pressure going to decreases, and then the higher atmospheric pressure from outside going to force the air from the atmosphere to goes into the lung. So this is inhalation. Okay, the air is going to goes from the atmosphere into the lungs. Very good. And next, we're going to talk about the exhalation. So it's going to be opposite as the process of inhalation. During exhalation, the external intercostal muscle is going to relax, while the internal intercostal muscle is going to contract. Okay, this is all the intercostal muscle. And then these actions going to cause the rib cage to move downwards and also inwards. So during inhalation, they move upwards and also outwards. But in this case, in exhalation, they're going to move downwards and also inwards. And at the same time, the diaphragm is going to relax. And then the diaphragm going to curves upwards to form a dome. Okay, they're going to form the curves upwards and form a dome. So the whole process here of the intercostal muscle and also the diaphragm going to cause the volume of the thoracic cavity to decrease, to reduce. Okay, so when the volume decrease, the pressure of the thoracic cavity going to increase. So this is going to force the air from the lungs to force out into the atmosphere. So this is the process of exhalation. All right, so next we're going to compare and contrast the breathing mechanism between humans and also animals. So when we talk about the compare and contrast, we always talk about the similarities and also the differences. So what are the similarities between the all these animals and also humans? The animals we're going to talk about, which is we also discussed it during the last video, which is insects, fish, and also frog, and we compare with the humans. So their similarities is that all the humans and animals, both humans and animal, they have a special muscular structures to expand and contract. Okay, they're all going to have these muscles to expand and contract. For example, our humans lungs, okay, is a muscular structures. We're going to expand and contract the respiratory cavity. And next, what's similar is that the breathing mechanisms involve the change in the volume. So the contraction or the relaxations of all that muscle going to cause a change in the volume, and also the change in volume going to cause the change in the pressure in the respiratory cavity. So these are the similarities between all the animals and also the humans. So what are difference from the breathing mechanisms of animals and fish is that, so first we talk about the insect. The insect, they differs from the respiratory structures. For example, the insects is going to use their spiracle as their respiratory openings, okay, or their respiratory aperture. And then the structures that they use to breathe is actually they use their thorax and abdomen. And then their breathing mechanism is assisted by the contractions and relaxations of the abdominal muscle in an insect. And next, moving on to a fish. The respiratory aperture or the respiratory opening is actually the mouth and also the operculum at the side, at the gills area. And then the structures that help breathing is actually the operculum and also the muscular floor of the buccal cavity. And the breathing mechanism is assisted by the movement of the floor of the buccal cavity. All right. So the buccal cavity moves up and down, going to change with the volume, and then change of the volume going to change the pressure. So next, we talk about the frog. Where's the respiratory aperture for a frog? The airs move in through the nostrils, okay? Because these cartoons here do not have a nostrils, but an actual frog is having a nostrils. And then the structures that help the frog to breathe is actually they use their muscular bucopharyngeal cavity. And then their breathing mechanism is assisted by the rapid movement of the bucopharyngeal cavity and also, of course, the elasticity of the lung. So lastly, about humans. The respiratory aperture or the respiratory opening is through the nostrils, as you know. And then the structures that help breathing is the diaphragm, the rib cage, and also the intercostal muscles, as what we discussed just now. And also their breathing mechanism of the human is assisted by the contraction and relaxation of the intercostal muscles, of the diaphragm, and they're going to change the volume and change the pressure. And this is going to result in the inhalation and also the exhalation. All right, so recap of the lesson. We learn about the process of inhalation for human, process of exhalation, and also we compare and contrast the breathing mechanisms between the animals and also human. So that's all for today's video. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.